Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new guest feature of IndieCast. Today, I have my guest today here is Krishangi Sinha, who is appearing on our podcast for the second time, and she is a public policy scholar, and she regularly writes about electoral issues and issues related to policy generally. And we have done an episode before on the special intensive revision, which was being conducted in Bihar. And because we are now just days away from the Bihar assembly elections, we just thought that we will have a wider election related discussion, assembly election related discussion about the Bihar assembly. So we've got a list of topics that we want to discuss. My note is that this is not an electoral forecast. Neither are we going to get into party predictions and all of that. Just going to have a chat maybe about the factors that will affect people's votings, the systems that are being built to carry out this assembly election, the impact, say, of Jan Suraj this time because it's a major force. So let's just see how this discussion pans out. So, Krishangi, let's just get your opening thoughts.
Yeah, hi. Firstly, thank you so much for having me again. I think for us, belonging to the state of Bihar and Bihar politics is something which is like a dinner table conversation. And I think it's a conversation just coming and getting recorded and people watching it, nothing else. So
Mhm.
for me, I think Bihar election specifically this year seems very interesting. You have, besides the usual alliances, you have a new party which has come up, which has been on field for the past 3-4 years now. They started Jan Swaraj, you saw on field in Bihar since 2021. There
Mhm.
is a lot of shift in alliances. People are saying whether this is the last election for the current chief minister. There are various things that are playing in this time, and this is a make or break for a lot of parties as well. For RJD, it is an important election because it's been a while since they have been in power. They have been in
Yeah.
a power with Nitish Kumar's alliance, but that also did not work out too well if you see it now. So it's important for RJD as well. For Congress, it is that Rahul Gandhi got over with his vote chori yatra. Has he managed to create an image that he was hoping for? Does that turn into voters actually going and voting for him or not? For JDU, it is that does Nitish Kumar stay or no? For BJP, it is that whether it has that impact it has had on the other states right now, whether they need JDU still or are they strong enough to have a BJP-led Bihar as yet on the. So I think it's an interesting election to watch, and it's interesting for everybody, I think, to see and discuss about it. Bihar sets the momentum for a lot of states. People love discussing Bihar elections, be it from Bihar or not, because there are so many things that play out in Bihar. It's not just socio-economic factors. There are lots of other factors. There's caste, there's migration. There's a lot of things when a person goes to vote in Bihar. So I think that's why it becomes very interesting for everybody.
Yeah, dude. Like you said, us Biharis also love talking politics. I remember, I'll just start with this anecdote that I was taking a train from Patna to Indore, I think a couple of years ago with my brother. And my brother just started talking politics with this random person. Now, 100% of that train coach is Bihari, right? So I could automatically see that that conversation was inviting a lot of audience from other people, and more people started getting on board with that conversation. I was like, please stop, because it was just gonna. Biharis are generally very politically aware people, and I want to take this conversation to caste dynamics as a result, also uh, because Bihar is a state which has also been historically very caste conscious, very conscious about public issues, very conscious about sociological issues, which in a way is a good thing, but I don't think it has translated into very good results on the ground. So, before we start recording, you and I were discussing also that how caste politics affects all of the country, but maybe in Bihar, historically, it's just been like, say, a standard deviation above the rest of the country as well, right? So, I just want to get your thoughts on the impact caste dynamics will play in this election, and have the caste dynamics and its impact on the electoral role. Has it shifted in the last few assembly elections? Is it likely to shift this time? So let's just get your view.
So what I personally feel is that you have people who say that no, caste does not play a role anymore. You go ask the voters here also with a mic in your hand, they'll say nahi nahi hum caste nahi dekh rahe. That's not there. You have in Bihar when a person votes, caste does play a role. I would
Mhm.
just say that caste has become more transformative. It's
Mm.
prominent. It's there. It's not prominent. It's existing. When a person is going to vote, they are voting. They will consider that whether, as the youth of Bihar, whether which party is going to give me a job. But the second thought that's going to come into my mind, or not my mind, or anyone's mind, for that matter, my mind also, is what caste does the person I'm voting for belong to? Will he help me or the people belonging from my community? That's there. You see that you have a lot of people saying that the fear in so-called the upper caste is that whether RJD winning, would it get the jungle Raj back? Will it make it
Mm.
tough for the upper caste to be there?
Mm.
That's a thought in a lot of upper caste people, voters in Bihar. They will not say it. Of course, when you say it, get a mic, you want to sound like हम बहुत आगे बढ़ के सोच रहे हैं. But है, मैं
Mm.
देखूंगी कि मुझे जॉब कौन दे रहा है. बट मैं उसके
Mm.
बाद ये भी देखूंगी कि मुझे कौन कौन सा पॉलिटिशियन है जो मेरे कास्ट का है. It's
Mm.
still prominent there. It's still there. It's transforming. Of course, there has been a huge transformation. जो पहले था to what it is now. There's a huge change, and it's an impressive change. It's a very way forward change, and there's still a long way to go. But when it comes to voting with caste in Bihar is concerned, I think.
Right, and you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, even in the rest of the country, electoral politics is so tied to caste that to expect, say, Bihar to come out of it is difficult. You know, it's rather, I would say, in the next few decades also, it will be very, very hard and very slow change. And I think I was impressed slightly by Prashant Kishor's efforts when he would go on these anti-caste rally, no, not anti-caste rallies, but
Census.
anti-conventional, yeah,
Talking
those
about
kind of,
the caste census.
yeah. And he would always say something prominent. He would say that, if you look at leaders from your own caste, they wouldn't even say that vote for a prominent talented candidate from your caste. He would always say that you vote in my son, vote for my nephew, those kind of things. So it's not like even politicians from your own caste are working for the larger welfare. I think that maybe the average person has begun understanding that also. I always think that we always don't give the common man enough credit. It's a thinking being. Even the average voter has a certain amount of intellect, especially in Bihar, where people are mostly listening to conversations about Israel and Gaza and Russia and Ukraine. Very likely that he still has a very narrow, bad road, but he's aware of the whole
What's happening?
geopolitical situation of the world. So these are thinking beings, and Bihari especially are very politically charged people. So, like you said, it's fortunate that if there is even a slight shift in the caste rootedness of the polity, it's a good thing. Uh,
If you see caste, it's not just the voters. If you see the list of the parties, their candidates, they also see कि कहाँ पे कौन सा caste prominent है, उसके हिसाब से they have given tickets. You
right,
see a lot of politicians now. You have a lot of subcaste where there are growth in the subcaste. If you see the ABC community, there's a
right,
big change in the last 15 to 20 years as far as that the growth in them is concerned.
right.
The jobs, the economically they have been getting uplifted. So the tickets which
Mm-hmm.
are going to EBC community politicians is also increased. You had
Mm-hmm.
earlier that you had a lot of upper caste getting tickets. You had a lot of Bhumiyars getting tickets. You had a lot of Rajputs getting tickets, which is still there.
Right,
That
right,
hasn't. But you have other castes also coming in power. You are coming to sort of get the tickets from from the party's point of view also. So in
right.
caste wise, I think there has been a change, but it's a change which is needed by both. If you are saying कि हम as voters ना सोचे कि कौन सा politician किस caste का है, तो when a party is giving a ticket, they should also not be thinking कि हम किस caste को दे रहे हैं.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very important. And like I said, just say before we start talking about this, you mentioned that there is this sort of jungle Raj anxiety also, right? From your this point, you're obviously very right to say that there's a demographic pattern that will naturally affect the ticket distribution also. There are pockets of Rajputs, Bhumiyars, the prominent faces from those communities in these areas will likely win that ticket. But I think that. Where this has shifted for the uh, for the liberal mind in a good way, that if you do think that caste politics is being left behind to a certain extent, is that I think there are certain national goals that some leaders move with. like for example, whatever caste a BJP candidate is from, they will try to attach the national image of Narendra Modi ji, etc., Viksit Bharat, all of that. I think that's a very good deviation, because I think the 1990s Jungle Raj was also a time where the country also had poor or lacking national leadership. So I think, because national politics also affect state assembly elections, right? So at that time, there was also no larger vision to align this country to. That was a time of weaker prime ministers, coalition governments, with all due respect to ex-prime ministers. But there was no strong all encompassing figure. And to that extent, I think the simple presence of a at least politically stable prime minister for 3 terms now, it has also had its good impact. I was just reading on, I think, India to Outlook actually. This week there was a feature on Bihar elections, and there was interviews of a lot of prominent persons from Bihar, including the Director General of Police and one additional DG of Police. And they were speaking of very impressive police reforms that have been made at the district level, at the ground level, even in cyber policing, because Bihar has high unemployment, so there was a lot of cyber scams and those kind of things going on. So there's definitely a lot that has changed for the positive in Bihar, and I'm saying this as a major critic of the state apparatus there. So yeah, I think, yeah.
No, there's been a huge change. You earlier you could not, as a woman, think about going out at after 7, 8 p.m. As soon as it got dark, you didn't have women you couldn't see a woman on the road. As when
Right,
I was a kid, I remember that when I used to come here for my summer vacation, there were hardly any women you could see at 7, 8. Today, at 8, 9 at night, people are actually out. They're
right,
safe. Nitish
yeah,
Kumar, whatever now, I don't know, no one to comment, but he was the one who got cycles for women to go out and actually, for girls to actually go to school through. There was a
yeah,
girl who saw that time that every girl had a cycle with her.
hmm,
It's a huge change. It's a good positive change. You had the prohibition which has happened. I don't
yeah,
know success or not, no one
hmm,
comment, but there is still been ki a lot. You go to the village and you ask a woman ki aapka pati ab aapko pee ke marta hai. They say nahi. There has been,
yeah,
of course, there will be, if there are 10 cases, there will be कि five, at least five में कम हुआ है. चलो five में नहीं हुआ है, but at least थोड़ा कोई change तो आया है ना कि नहीं वो नहीं अब there's no alcohol coming in at home.
hmm,
Maybe in the
yeah,
other side there has been a double कि भाई जो पहले मेरे पास पैसे हुआ करते थे for if he was spending 100 rupees on alcohol, now he's spending 200. That's
hmm,
those 5 cases. But every coin
right,
size when you see it. So that's the
yeah,
policy that has been introduced in Bihar as well. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I also think that, and the economic student in me is every time just focusing on revenue. So I am, in personal opinions, always against prohibition of anything. I'm from that line of thought that you regularize it, tax it, redistribute the wealth you get from it, but nothing will. Ground level evidence points to the fact that domestic violence did in fact reduce after prohibition, and that is a major win for the women of Bihar. In fact, they say that a big reason for Nitish Kumar's popularity is that women really have reported a good quality and improvement in their life. And I'm not saying this. You can literally go and test this hypothesis on the ground.
actually, women have been very happy from Nitish Kumar, be it in 2020, 2015. Women have actually supported him from his cycle to prohibition, everything. One of the largest chunk voters that Nitish Kumar gets is women. So I've
Right.
done something for them for sure that the women are going out. And plus, in the village earlier, when you had women who do not have the confidence to speak in front of their husbands, are now actually working. Have got
Hmm.
that upliftment. I hate using this word that someone has uplifted them, but the
Hmm.
change that has happened in lives of women, the quality of their life has been great. They're speaking against their husband. If today, I know of a woman whose husband used to beat her, she went and complained. She has 2 kids. She has one daughter and one son. She didn't care कि उनके घर में पैसे कैसे आएंगे. But she was like, I'm
Hmm.
going to sit and get beaten up by my husband. I'm going to go complain, and he's behind the bars, and she's happy. She's okay. She started working.
Right.
That's a huge change.
Yeah.
I think I could have seen that 10 years back in Bihar.
Right. Yeah, I mean that is very important. And I mean, like I said, it's not like there's obviously a lot more progress to make, but we were highlighting as of now the successes of Bihar,
Mhm.
but there are a lot of shortcomings even now. So I just wanted to like pick your brain a little bit on how you think unemployment is going to be in the center of this election. Like I'm, for example, presently in Haryana. I spent some times in Madhya Pradesh. I spent some time in Bihar also. I don't think any Indian state is doing good from the employment view. So, what do you think is how is it affecting the ground? How is it going to affect voter patterns? What are your thoughts on this?
I think the fact that every party is saying "Hum naukri denge" shows that Bihar people actually want jobs. You have a lot of youth. May if you see, I was seeing some interviews, on ground reports, and there is a person who asked this boy कि आपको क्या चाहिए? तो कहता है नौकरी. तो he's saying कि तेजस्वी आपको नौकरी तो दे रहा है. तो he's like
Hmm.
पहले नौकरी दे फिर हम वोट करेंगे. It's like so
Hmm.
smart. Youth is actually wanting jobs. When
Yeah.
so that there is actually you see a lot of students just doing nothing here.
Hmm.
Migration is so prominent. Every
Yeah.
party is talking about reverse migration. कि हाँ हम
Hmm.
jobs create करेंगे. Prashant Kishore's one of his most interesting things that he spoke about is that यहाँ से बिहार से गुजरात के लिए ट्रेन शुरू करा दिया आपकी जो एनडीए सरकार है कि लेबर्स माइग्रेट करके जाए जॉब्स वहां पे करें बट यहाँ पे क्यों नहीं वो फैक्ट्री सेटअप कर देते हैं
Hmm.
everyone is in some way
Hmm.
for employment because, as you said, in India there is a mass level of unemployment which is there, and there is that whoever has a job, the satisfaction also that they have from that job is not very high. I feel that I am qualified to do something much better than what I'm doing right now, and
Yeah.
that it's not just about unemployment but also dissatisfaction with the type of employment people have. There is a lack of jobs, and that is one of the biggest political talks by all the parties. Ki we will give jobs, and let's see whether they get the jobs or not. And when
Yeah.
the voters will vote, they will consider this. Especially the youth will consider who will give them jobs. They want to come back as a laborer working in Delhi. I have 10 costs to pay for, not just my costs of staying in Delhi and eating in Delhi, but also to pay for my house back
Yeah.
village, my wife, my children, my parents were there. So, anyone would want to stay home and work.
Yeah.
That,
I yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
no, no, that's there. That's what I.
Yeah. Yeah, I also, I think that there's been a shift, like I said again, in the mindset of the voter, that earlier on the part of the political parties, there was this assumption that the average voter is very short termist, right? 1000 2000 रुपए भर के एनवेलप दे दो, एक छोटी क्वार्टर विस्की का दे दो, वो आपको वोट कर देगा. बट लाइक यू सेड, इट्स लाइक कि आप पहले नौकरी दो, हम तब वोट करेंगे. That is also a positive shift in the sense that the polity the public polity is headed in the right direction. I do think that re-establishing jobs is going to be very challenging. With that Prashant Kishore example, you also said, right, that आप factory यहाँ क्यों नहीं लगा रहे हो? I think where one area where the state is still lacking, and I see many other Indian states lacking too, is that we still haven't made it very, very business friendly, and there is a huge deterrence in the part of the investors when you have even some level of crime, some level of law and order issues. There Earlier this year there were multiple murders of businessmen in Bihar, and I think I remember we were speaking of positive police reforms earlier, but I do remember, I think the same ADG who I was quoting also said, came on the press conference and said, अभी किसानों के पास काम नहीं होता तो मर्डर बढ़ जाते हैं, which might even be statistically true, but I just don't think it's very prudent of a senior.
During May June time, that May June के
Yeah,
time
yeah,
उनके पास फार्मिंग का वो फसल
हाँ,
कटने का समय नहीं होता है इसलिए
हाँ,
क्राइम्स बढ़ जाते हैं. Remember this.
हाँ, मतलब बात में शायद सच्चाई भी हो, बट इट्स नॉट अप्रोप्रिएट फॉर अ सीनियर पुलिस ऑफिसर टू से दैट. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, these are some areas where if you make major gains, people might actually start reabsorbing some investment into Bihar, because all these things are after all related, right? You could make the best industrial parks, but if there is even a little bit of law and order issues and crime or dirty caste politics, nobody will want to stay and invest. Why, in, for example, Haryana, people invested in Cyber City right outside Delhi was that they got some basics correct in terms of like building cyber parks, building it in a very secure way, getting the right policy direction from the state governments. In Telangana, parts of Hyderabad are doing phenomenally well, and we are seeing that these patterns are leading to uh, a youth migration from pretty much every declining economic state, not just Bihar, even from youth in Calcutta, youth in other tier 2 cities are graduating college, doing their MBAs, then eventually either being shifted to Gurgaon, Hyderabad, or maybe some parts of Mumbai, because the private sector is not really growing in other places. That's one more thing to observe. Maybe to a small success of Madhya Pradesh, even Indore is slowly coming into that race. But so those we speak about Bihar, so we always speak about freight equalization, right? How it was a disincentivization of investing in Bihar, but it's been 70, 80 years since that policy, so we need to become a little bit more innovative.
And
Uh,
in Bihar earlier, we had the sugar industry, sugar mills which were there, which were
uh,
economically. Bihar at one point of time was doing very great economically. Yes,
mm,
many, many years ago. But I think it's not that there is no hope. There is a lot of hope when it comes to this state. You have rich soil, you have influx of of workers, you have everything. It's just that all that has to you can have all the resources, but till you don't align it in the right force, it will never
mm,
go. I think that's
mm,
the thing what you talk about, the law and order. If I am thinking of setting up an industry in Bihar, I need to feel secure before I put in something as far as my financial resources are concerned into it, right?
mm.
Businesses. So that I think that becomes very important completely.
Yeah, I think this also just brings me to to my next question, which is related, right? Because in the last Lok Sabha election, also the seats that were won in Bihar became a very important component of the seat selection for the union government. So then there was a slew of policy changes that were announced, right? Like I think a Makhana board, for example, the Bhagalpur Buxar Expressway was announced. So are these policies going to have a transformative impact, say, which could be pro NDA in this election? Like, what are your thoughts?
So that's what I said earlier. The pehle jobs to uske baad the people know ki, especially I think in any state people have understood that promises are made. You have a lot of promises that are getting made. In 2024, everybody knew that Bihar election coming out wasn't coming out of nowhere. Everybody knew ki next is Bihar election and one big state, one important state. So you have a lot of you had an alliance to get strong. You needed Nitish Kumar to be a part for the government to be formed. He played a
Mm,
vital role. I think, you have to give out those promises, and people are actually looking for that now that the promises are made, something's done out of it. The makhana industry of makhana is one of the most, rich of what do you call superfoods? Do you call them right? Super grains, superfoods. People are talking about it, but what's happening? What has actually translated into promises to reality is there's a huge gap between that. And
right.
people are now asking कि भाई कब होगा ये? आप बिहार
Mm,
में बहुत चीजें करने के लिए आप बिहार even if not Bihar, you see, for example, Delhi elections, BJP promised a certain amount of money that will be given to women. Has
right.
it reached the women? No. In
Yeah.
Maharashtra, the same thing happened. So that's why in Bihar, what became interesting to see that the 10,000 rupees which were given to Jivika Didi happened even before the elections happened. So that that
Right.
that has actually worked because as politicians also you understand no कि भाई लोग अब question करेंगे ना कि ये चलो ठीक है promise
Mm,
promise कर रहे हैं reality तो हो नहीं रहा है. So I
mm,
think that accountability is there. People are asking
yeah.
पहले करो हमारे लिए उसके बाद हम
Yeah.
करेंगे.
हाँ, right.
That's
And
what.
इसका converse एक ये भी है that and that is the subject of my previous conversation with Krishangi, which I will link in the description, that आपने promises तो किए, which I hope are implemented soon enough, but the average voter is still going through things like the anxiety of the SIR, for example, and there is a, a a a shadow of the demographic anxiety in other states which has reached Bihar also, because Bihar is also a border state. We share a border with Nepal. There may be immigration from other areas as well into the state. So, is there an element of demographic anxiety which plays a role in Bihar also? And has this SIR, the impact of SIR, what do you think is going to be the outcome of all of that on this assembly election? Because it could go against the ruling establishment also, right?
So when it comes to SIR, I think SIR has the whole impact of SIR as far as the voter list is concerned. There have been few removals, few additions in the voter list. What actually is the impact will be it will be closer to see during elections. I think one thing about Bihar I have understood is ki what is the mahal in September to what is the mahal in October when this before the elections to when the list comes out to when the actual voting happens, everything changes. तो दैट्स द सेम थिंग विद एसआईआर आई थिंक कि लोग कितना वो याद रखेंगे कि ऐसी चीज हुई है is
Hmm.
important and unko what they had to go through. If you ask few of the people here, they'll say कि हाँ हो गया हमको तो बस आधार देना था.
Hmm.
I like a lot of my people who work here or I have spoken to have said कि हमें बस आधार देना था और वो वोटर लिस्ट में नाम आ गया मेरा. So actually, many people haven't gone through the major problems of it. They haven't
Okay.
understood exactly what has happened.
Hmm.
So I don't think that personally, what I feel is I don't think it's going to have a huge impact to being one of the issues as far as people's voting decision comes. Of course, the process in general has had a lot of controversies around it, a lot of discussions around it, but I don't
Hmm.
think it's impacted anything. SIR is about to start in Delhi with the 2004 electoral roll. It's going to happen in Bengal. So SIR, regardless of good or bad, whether it leads to vote, impact on the vote banks, doesn't make a difference. SIR is a reality, I think, which people have to accept that it's going to happen in every state.
Right.
As far as
And
an,
yeah.
sorry.
No, no. So go on.
So my only thing that as far as an issue for voting is concerned, I don't think that's going to be one of the most important things now.
Right. Fair. That's a fair position. I also think that if the election commission regularly makes the right public disclosures and correctly or appropriately adjudicates veracity of your documents respectfully, although that would put some strain on the election commission, I do think that it's not it's probably a valid exercise in itself. You can revise voter rolls and you as you must, but I had some anxieties about it myself. But I do think that if the exercise is moderated, overlooked properly, there's good oversight, I don't see anything wrong with it either. I do want to now shift to my a topic that I've been waiting to discuss, and many people also want to talk about it, is the Jan Suraj effect. What is the rise of Prashant Kishor going to do on the assembly elections? I'm not necessarily asking you to say give your forecast, but I just like an averaging out of the thoughts of what are people thinking about him and all of that. So let's just get your thoughts.
So Jan Swaraj, I think, is the one party right after the 2020 elections that I saw on ground. That
Mm-hmm.
Jan Swaraj was there. You had Prashant Kishor's team everywhere in Bihar.
Mm-hmm.
North Bihar, South Bihar, every part, every village, every constituency they've touched, which is very impressive.
Hmm. Yeah.
As a political analyst, he has done a great job. He understands politics better than a lot of the
Yeah.
politicians. He's been a part of the 2015 elections for Bihar,
Hmm.
2014 elections for Modi. He has
Hmm.
strategized a lot of things. He understands what people want to hear,
Yeah.
and he's managed to do that. He's been on ground. He's showed his face to people. I'm a person of yours. I'm a person who is one of you, which becomes very important in politics. If I can relate to somebody, it becomes great. Whether or not I vote for him, I don't know. But मेरे लिए हो जाता है कि हाँ relatable है. He's relatable to me. As far as him, so he's done a great job in those ways. I think I was pretty impressed by the work that's done by his team, by the way he chose his candidates, the way he showed what he wants. He made people realize that आपको क्या नहीं मिला. What that Bihar is being discriminated against. He's made people believe in that. So
Yeah.
I that's very impressive, and it becomes important. It becomes important when it comes to people voting. I don't know whether or not he wins or not. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Right.
But managed to also pressurize both the alliances
Yeah.
has
Fair.
been major, that pressure on be it the Mahagathbandhan or the NDA, because right now people are like, कि किसका vote काटेगा? You see any political discussion happening, someone saying, the Mahagathbandhan vote वो हटाएगा. Someone saying,
Hmm.
for upper caste, he's going to take vote from BJP, and from JDU. So that is very interesting to watch, that he's made sure that both the alliances are under tremendous pressure.
Hmm.
Himself said it, and I'm not doing any analysis. This is his line, that either he's
Right.
winning less than 10 seats or more than 150 seats. He's sure
Right.
about what's his impact. Either it's
Yeah.
nothing or it's everything.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. I also think that there is a certain amount of power that you hold even if you have 6 7 seats in the assembly, right? Especially when the assembly is not
And not
giving.
first elections. If even
Yeah.
if he gets, I don't, be it 6 7 seats or even 6 7% of the vote share, he's
Yeah.
going to create competition. He that
Yeah.
is the thing that's there, that he's going to cut a lot of votes for both the alliances.
Yeah. And I also see that in as a win because his core support is and his core direction has been so social infrastructure focused that I do think that Bihar was in need of some refreshing or some new faces in the political apparatus. I have a lot of respect for Nitish Kumar, but I think there comes a time when the same faces and the same view, it also starts an element of fatigue comes in the average voter also. Having said that, I also want to say that if you are even in the assembly with 10 12 seats, at the national level, we see parties with 7 8 seats in the Lok Sabha with one union minister sitting, right? So you are able to exert your amount of pressure or the due influence on public policy as you want. I remember, I think I was hearing Prashant Kishor speak somewhere where he said that already they've been able to push the old age pension scheme, I think from 400 rupees per month to about 1100
Yes,
rupees, which is not a life changing amount, but to be able to exert that much pressure on the state exchequer without even being in government, it's a
exactly.
major feat. So
Exactly. The
yeah.
Jivika scheme also, the 10,000 rupees reaching women before even the elections won by any
Yeah.
party. That was impressive.
Yeah.
10,000 for a woman. In any state, you see Maharashtra, Delhi, Haryana, the
Yeah.
range was 1,500 to 2,000 every women. Here,
Yeah.
straight away goes to 10,000 rupees. They've got
Yeah.
this money, they are happy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's because of the pressure created by Jan Suraj. I think it's a great, he's managed to do that. He's
Yeah.
managed to have them by their throats that, yeah, do the work. And that's
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right that you push the government or like the entire uh, political party status quo is sort of ones into a corner where you have to act in some way or another because you see a person who's gaining popularity, who's contesting against you, it induces a certain degree of anxiety to whoever's in power, right? Uh, I also think that you're absolutely right also to say that the idea that Bihar has been
discrimination
mis
against.
discriminated against, misled, it's an idea that is now finding more ground also. I remember that interview with Samdesh Bhatia's name, Unfiltered by Samdesh, that guy. He's done a couple of good interviews, and I think his first one with Prashant Kishore also had this line that really stuck with everybody, was that कुछ कुछ लोगों को देख के लगता है कि इतना कैसे पिछड़ा रह गया, like हमारा state, where yeah.
You feel bad about yourself
Yeah.
कि भाई मैंने क्या डिसीजन ले लिया ऐसा कि मैं मतलब मैं आज तक गलत डिसीजन ले रही थी
हाँ.
इसलिए I deserve this. This
Ex-
is what had to happen with me. मेरी गलती.
yeah. मतलब एक तो इंडिया ऑलरेडी एक still very much a developing country where social infrastructure is poor even in our better cities too, and then in Bihar, imagine the people living on the margins, the amount of public services they have lost out on for all these years. और देखा जाए तो it was after all one of the most fertile states. There was no access issues with respect to water. Agriculturally, it could have been a very rich state. There could have been a lot of quote unquote startups that could have come out of there had law and order been better, had these issues been resolved much earlier. And I think that loss, if it was quantifiable in terms of GDP, in terms of social infrastructure, it's unimaginable. And I think every Bihari will feel that sense of loss because even affluent Biharis, like a lot of us, we don't really stay there, many of us, even to this day. So if we start having these winnings politically continue, it might reverse the migration trajectory also. And migration is, after all, at the heart of this election. So,
Exactly. माइग्रेशन एंड जॉब्स की माइग्रेशन तभी रुकेगा जब आप जॉब्स दोगे और आप जॉब्स क्रिएट करोगे लोगों के लिए, तभी
Hmm.
वो वापस वो रिवर्स माइग्रेशन जो एवरीवन इवन तेजस्वी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट रिवर्स माइग्रेशन दैट्स व्हेन इट हैपेंड for Congress also. I think they went around talking. They start this. Rahul Gandhi had this huge ideas. Palayan Roko. He started with Congress. Started with the Palayan Roko Yatra
Hmm.
earlier this year.
Right.
They went into talking about vote chori. They picked up very, very, very good themes. But I think the
Hmm.
problem happened that they just let it go. Exactly at
Yeah.
the time that they shouldn't let it go. Closer to the elections, they have left. कि भाई अब छोड़ चुके.
Hmm.
I think that's
Yeah.
something that's gone wrong as far as
Yeah.
parties are, as far as Congress is concerned. I think they could
Yeah.
have managed to do well. They
Yeah.
could manage. I'm not saying that they would have won. No one. I'm not saying for anyone that who will win, who will not. But they did
Yeah.
create a good memento. They picked up very good, issues to talk about. They started the yatras. They started talking to the people. But again,
Hmm.
they lost, lost track of it.
Yeah. And I think I was watching this report by the print where the journalist raised something very important. They said that why travel to South America right now just before Bihar elections? You did a rally there. Why couldn't you have done a couple of more visits, stayed on there till the assembly elections concluded at least? So it was very ill advised. I don't particularly know how any political party could have done this.
No,
You know.
the best joke happened that till that day, till he wasn't back, the alliances, tickets, and seats weren't finalized. So everybody, the joke started that now that he's back, कुछ सीख के आया होगा, इसलिए अब सब final, सब ठीक हो जाएगा.
Okay.
Because he was asking, literally, when he does these things, he's asking for it. Come to
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Because the what do you call the vote chori yatra was
Mm.
actually very good. Was
Mm.
actually that Rahul Gandhi. I'm not saying he made the best image for himself, but
Mm.
actually had this positive image getting made. Ki, haan,
Right.
he's a politician. People were there not to see Tejasvi or any local leader, but were there in that yatra to see Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah.
He has that in him that he can get the crowd, but I think it's important for him to sustain it and to
Yeah.
continue doing that.
Yeah. I also think there the appetite there exists a huge appetite in our country for a strong opposition, and people are looking for other leaders also. So my only thing is that then in that case you should not lose the gains you are making. So
Because
when
you're making like
that
few gains
yeah,
also.
yeah. And like, I mean, I'm no psephologist, but I do think that this is the most basic, like, even from a task job systems perspective, nobody goes for a party before an important presentation, right? It seemed very like
You're there for the entire week making that
yeah.
presentation, and just a night before you're like, let's go out.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I also do think, speaking of jobs, I think that people from Bihar are so politically conscious and innovative that on a lighter note, I saw this Instagram reel where this guy said कि हम और हमारे दोस्त सब बेरोजगार हैं और आपको जिस पॉलिटिकल पार्टी का प्रचार करना है हम आके करेंगे और आपकी गाड़ी होगी आपका खाना होगा हम 500 रुपया दिन का लेंगे तो you know there
That's
is a very
that's there. That's I think
yeah
very good ask also कि हम
yeah
that's what people do ना कि आप जितने लोगों को ले आओ. That's what it has come to. Now that we're joking
yeah
about it, it's just so sad for this country.
yeah
People don't have anything to do.
yeah
There's mass unemployment.
Yeah, and I think ballooning unemployment is a very major issue right outside of Bihar also, to the extent that it can be a separate feature and a separate discussion that how will elections change after unemployment, because there is a large population which is aging, so there are large pensions to give out, recruitment at government jobs is not happening, SSC recruitments are not happening. We know Bihar historically gives a lot of government job aspirants,
Yeah.
so, state public service commissions, SSC, except for maybe the UPSC, the recruitment regularity has also really declined. And there are lakhs and lakhs of people who go and appear for SSC, other state public service commissions, BPSC itself. So, once there is irregularity here, you are sending a message to the youth that your future, your preparation, your attempt is not that important. You can have to stay another. Yeah.
Uncertainty is there amongst youth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exam जाके दूंगा. You see a lot of for me these days what we go to is these on ground reports, the youth is saying कि मैं क्यों दूं एग्जाम, पता नहीं कौन सा पेपर कैंसिल हो जाए, क्या होगा, क्लियर नहीं होगा, ये होगा.
Yeah.
So much uncertainty and negativity around now that the youth also does not want to try.
Yeah.
That willingness is reducing, and
Yeah.
that's the sad part here. पहले
Yeah.
competition हमेशा था. It's not
Hmm.
that people are scared of the competition. It's just
Yeah.
with everything happening around, it's just that that willingness and that positivity has gone.
Yeah. Absolutely. In fact, like I said, this isn't a Bihar issue because not just a Bihar issue. Even in Bihar, by the way, I know of somebody who graduated in 2013 or something, and they just got appointed as a sub inspector in the Bihar police. Or, so they spent that much year. I don't know exactly, I think, which year, they sort of started appearing and what the age limit is, because I personally think that a man that old is also too old to train. But so I did hear of an example where somebody had been graduated for more than 10 years and now they are being appointed. So that loss of productivity is also huge. So there's a lot of these issues that need to be addressed. In Rajasthan also, I was watching a report that some police sub inspectors were appointed. Then there was one person, I think, whose recruitment had some clarity issues, and then the whole batch kind of just their recruitment was frozen. So many of them had worn their uniforms, they had joined duty, and then they had to be quote unquote dismissed from service or whatever. So this youth unemployment issue is deeply tied down to the irregularity in government recruitment.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying this is happening, but because state public service commissions are in fact constitutional bodies, I think they should go out of their way to make sure that the processes are transparent, because then the message that goes to the youth is कि अगर 1 लाख देके कोई खिला देता है रुपया और सीट खरीद लेता है. And I'm not saying this is happening, but the confidence that the state public service commissions need to win, that outreach is not being made.
Exactly. That's with SIR also, with the
Yeah.
whole process, that the process is right. It is like we spoke about in the last
Yeah.
episode. It is the need of the hour. The electoral
Yeah.
roll needs that cleaning. But
Hmm.
because there is so much of lack of information to the people,
Hmm.
it feels like, if today I tell you that, yeah, this has to be there, and then I start hiding it from you, yeah, do this, but I'm not telling you why you should do this, you will also be like, "Bhai, why is she making me do this?" You start
Yeah.
questioning it, and especially with something which is in power, which is an authority, you think maybe they are doing it that might harm me.
Yeah.
Nobody would want that, be it for
Yeah.
examinations, be it for voter roll. Everyone's whole thing is कि आप जितना clear उनको रखोगे will make you, as the amount you make them a part of the process, the better it is. They know
Yeah.
what's happening. They'll trust you automatically. That's as
Yeah.
simple as that.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when both state public service commissions and the election commission draw their power from the constitution directly.
Exactly.
If the election commission of India has to say that we are in fact going to adjudicate on the veracity of your documents to make sure that you have a voting ability, voting right still, and nobody can withdraw that from you, the election commission must also go out of their way to make public disclosures, to win people's confidence simply by information sharing. And I think the election commission has of India has an excellent track record. I mean, they go all the way to jungles in national, and they'll go in the middle of national parks with like their voting machines, EVMs, just to get even 10-12 votes. So uh, it's a organization that has historically been very loyal to the Indian people
People.
in that sense. Yeah.
It's for the people, and it's done a tremendously great job in doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
So
people
I'm
to know what's happening. I think that's it.
yeah. I like, yeah, I mean, I think I'd just like to conclude my thought that we pride ourselves on the fact that 18 plus is 18ish 18ish to 25 is a major demographic, and they are a voting population. So at some level you have to look at the career aspirations of these people also. Many of them, they just don't want direct benefit transfers or cash handouts or a simple internship. People want long term sustainable jobs, and we need to create a kind of framework to make that happen, right?
That's true. And that's what is becoming one of the biggest agendas also in Bihar. Like, to get back to Bihar elections, becoming one of the
Yeah,
agendas
yeah,
to offer कि we will give you jobs if you vote for us. वो jobs कहाँ
yeah,
से आते हैं we don't know, but we will give
hmm,
you jobs.
yeah.
That's
Let
interesting.
Yeah. Let's get your final thoughts, Krishangi, of the overall discussion.
I think I'll give my final thoughts after we're done with the three series. No, I think that
Yeah.
closer to coming to the voting day, I think we'll have our final thoughts. But more or
All
less,
right.
that's it, that employment has become a very important issue. Caste still plays a very prominent role when people go to vote in Bihar. There is a lot of there has been good changes that have happened in the state, but there's still a long way to go.
Right.
SIR may or may not become a huge voting factor when it comes to, because at the end of the day people have a very short span of attention. SIR
Yeah.
या सितंबर में अक्टूबर
Mhm.
में इतना चीजें हो गई है कि when I'm going to vote, what should I remember, what all should I recall that money reached my house last night, should I recall कि who's going to give me a job, or should I recall कि हाँ SIR में मेरा, because मैं end में जाके देखती हूँ कि मेरा SIR में नाम है, तो मैं खुश हूँ कि चलो ठीक है मैं वोट तो कर सकती हूँ. So that's there. Prashant
Mhm.
Kishor will play an important role as far as creating pressure is concerned, cutting votes is concerned, doing that, giving competition, winning or losing, I don't know, but he'll manage to pressurize till the day of election, till the day of results. I think 14th November is the day we get to know what happens. But all of these parties, all of these factors are going to play a huge role this time.
Right. So, youth unemployment will be major. Prashant Kishore will be a major actor, and SIR might or might not be a major function in what will be the outcome of the election. This was the first of what will be a three-part series on the policy issues surrounding the Bihar election. I think I'm done. Krishangi, do you have anything more to add?
Nothing else, nothing.
All right, so we'll conclude our first part. Thank you for joining us, Krishangi, and
Thank you.
we will do this very soon.